The sacred feminine, psychology, philosophy, and neuroscience. The silenced current. There is a tiredness in the world, not the kind sleep can fix, a deeper exhaustion felt in bodies, in hearts, in relationships. Women feel it as pressure. Men feel it as emptiness. Something essential has been muted, not destroyed, but silenced. For most of human history, the feminine was not invisible. It was feared, revered, and protected, not because it was fragile, but because it was powerful. The feminine was the force of life itself, birth, death, emotion, change, and intuition, and power that cannot be controlled is often suppressed instead. Feminine energy is not what you were told. The modern world made a mistake. It confused the feminine with weakness, passivity, and emotional chaos. But feminine energy is not passive. It is receptive. And receptivity is not submission. It is the capacity to hold life. The ocean does not chase the wave. It receives it and shapes it. The neuroscience of safety. Neuroscience reveals something critical. The feminine principle regulates safety. When the nervous system feels safe, creativity emerges, desire awakens, and healing begins. The parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for rest, connection, and bonding, is the biological home of the feminine. Without safety, the feminine shuts down. And when it shuts down, the world becomes sad, cold, and mechanical. This is not only a women's issue. Without access to their feminine energy, men lose emotional range, fear vulnerability, or confuse numbness with strength. The feminine gives meaning to action. Without it, masculine drive becomes empty motion, achievement without fulfillment. That's why men do not need less femininity. They need integrated femininity. Why women are exhausted. Women today are not weak. They are overextended, forced into constant productivity, emotional suppression, and masculine performance. But the feminine psyche was never meant to live disconnected from rhythm, intuition, and embodiment. This is why anxiety is epidemic. This is why desire feels distant. This is why rest feels unsafe. So the question is not, should the feminine return? The question is, what happens to love, creativity, and life itself when the feminine is cut off from expression? The inner womb. Every psyche has a womb. Not a physical place, but a psychological space where experience is digested. In psychology, this is emotional processing. In neuroscience, it is interoception, the ability to feel oneself from the inside. In mythology, it is the Great Mother. The feminine principle metabolizes life. Without it, experiences pile up unprocessed and turn into anxiety, numbness, or illness. Feeling is intelligence. Modern culture glorified thinking and distrusted feeling. But emotion is not irrational. It is information. Emotion tells us what matters, what hurts, and what needs care. The feminine intelligence listens inward before acting outward. When feeling is ignored for too long, the body speaks louder, through symptoms, fatigue, or collapse. The 4 feminine archetypes. Across myths and cultures, 4 feminine archetypes appear again and again. The queen, sovereignty and worth. The mother, nourishment and care. The priestess, intuition and insight. The lover, sensuality and aliveness. These are not roles, they are energetic functions. And every human carries all 4. Wholeness comes from the integration of all these archetypes, not from perfection. The queen, self-worth. The queen archetype answers one question: what am I worth? Not ego, not comparison, but intrinsic value. Neuroscience links self-worth to secure attachment and nervous system regulation. When the inner queen is absent, women seek validation, Men seek domination or approval, and boundaries dissolve. The queen does not beg, she chooses. The mother, nourishment. The mother archetype nourishes life, not just children, but ideas, emotions, relationships. Healthy mother energy soothes, encourages, and protects growth. Without the mother, people burn out, creativity dies, and compassion collapses. Care is not weakness, it is sustainability. The priestess, inner knowing. The priestess listens beneath the noise. She represents intuition, pattern recognition, and inner truth. Neuroscience shows intuition is rapid, nonverbal pattern processing. When the priestess is ignored, people outsource truth to authority, doubt replaces trust, and life loses meaning. Wisdom does not shout, it whispers. The lover, sensual aliveness. The lover archetype is presence in the body, taste, touch, beauty, and desire. This is not indulgence, it is embodiment. Without the lover, sex becomes mechanical, pleasure becomes guilt, and life feels dead and gray. The lover says, I am here, now, and enjoy the present moment. Archetypal imbalance. As seen last week with the masculine energy, imbalance creates distortion. Queen without mother is cold superiority. Mother without queen is self-erasure. Priestess without lover is dissociation. Lover without queen is addiction. The sacred feminine is not softness alone. It is depth with boundaries. So what happens when femininity is shamed, sexualized, controlled, or overburdened? What happens when women are told to be everything, yet supported by nothing? And what happens to men when emotion is labeled weakness? The feminine shadow. Wherever something sacred is suppressed, a shadow forms. The shadow of the feminine is unfelt feeling, grief that never had time, rage that was never allowed, desire that was shamed. The feminine shadow does not scream at first. It numbs, it dissociates, and it hardens. Anxiety as frozen emotion. Anxiety is not fear of the future. It is emotion without movement. Neuroscience shows that when emotion is not metabolized, the nervous system remains in a state of constant vigilance. So when women are taught, be strong, don't feel too much, feeling are denied. And what does buried emotion become? Anxiety. The strong woman mask. Strength became armor. Competence replaced connection. Independence replaced support. And control replaced trust. The strong woman archetype was never meant to live without softness. This is not empowerment. It is adaptation, a response to a world that did not feel safe to rest in. Control is a trauma response. It says, if I manage everything, I won't be hurt. But control collapses polarity. It exhausts the body. It dries desire. It isolates the heart. The feminine thrives in trust. Not blind trust, but embodied safety. Without safety, receptivity becomes impossible. Men and the lost feminine. Men carry the feminine shadow too. It shows up as emotional numbness, fear of vulnerability, and disconnection from intuition. Boys were told, don't cry, don't feel, so they didn't. But what is not felt does not disappear. It becomes addiction, it becomes rage, and it becomes emptiness. Sexual distortion. When the feminine is reduced to object, sexuality fractures. Pleasure becomes performance. Intimacy becomes transaction. Desire becomes anxiety. The lover archetype cannot survive shame. True eroticism requires real presence. The body opens only when it feels safe to be alive. The mother wound. The mother is the first experience of the feminine. When the mother is overwhelmed, emotionally unavailable, self-erasing, or controlling, the child learns, my needs are too much. This creates adults who overgive, undervalue themselves, or fear dependence. Emotional suppression and illness. The body keeps score. Unfelt emotion does not vanish. It embeds itself. Chronic tension, autoimmune disorders, fatigue, hormonal imbalance. This is not psychosomatic in the dismissive sense. It is psychoneuroimmunology. The feminine principle speaks through the body when it is ignored by the mind. Names the grief. Beneath control, beneath anxiety, beneath strength, there is grief. Grief for rest, grief for softness, grief for being held. And grief is not weakness. It is love with nowhere to go. So the question becomes, how does the feminine return without collapsing into passivity? How does receptivity become power and softness become strength? In the next act, we explore polarity, desire, and receptivity, why the feminine opens life, and how attraction awakens. Polarity, desire, and receptivity. Receptivity has been misunderstood. It is not waiting. It is not submission. It is not weakness. Receptivity is capacity, the capacity to feel, to receive, to respond rather than react. In neuroscience, receptivity is nervous system safety. In philosophy, it is openness to being changed. What about desire? Desire cannot be commanded. It emerges when the body feels safe enough to relax control. This is why pressure kills attraction. This is why performance kills intimacy. The feminine nervous system opens when it senses presence, attunement, and consistency. The dance of polarity. Polarity is not hierarchy, it is movement. The feminine moves inward, downward, inward again. The masculine moves outward, forward, upward. When both are honored, energy circulates. When both try to lead in the same way, energy stagnates. Polarity is not about roles, it is about relational tension. Feminine leadership. The feminine leads differently, not through force, but through attunement. The feminine leads by setting emotional tone, sensing imbalance, and calling forth depth. This is why rooms shift when certain people enter. Presence is influence. Boundaries are feminine power. Softness without boundaries is self-erasure. Boundaries are not masculine by default. They are self-respect embodied. When the queen is present, the lover can relax. When boundaries are clear, trust grows. No protects yes. Men and devotion. When the feminine is embodied, masculine devotion awakens naturally. Not obedience, not submission, devotion. A desire to protect, provide, and serve life. This is ancient and biological. The masculine longs to be oriented towards something meaningful, and the feminine gives meaning. Sexual polarity and presence. Sex is not just physical, it is energetic. When the feminine is present in the body, sexuality becomes slow, deep, and transformative. The body opens when it is not being rushed. Orgasm is not the goal. Connection is. Feminine energy in men. Men who integrate the feminine feel more, create more, and love more deeply. They are not less masculine, they are more whole. They trust intuition. They allow rest. They experience beauty without guilt. This is emotional maturity. Receptivity as practice. Receptivity can be practiced through slowness, stillness, listening, and embodiment. The feminine does not grow through force. It unfolds through permission. So what does a healed feminine look like in a world addicted to speed and control? How does the queen rise without hardening? How does softness remain sovereign? In the final act, we explore integration, embodiment, and the awakening of the queen, for women, for men, and for the future of human connection. The queen rises. The queen does not rise by overthrowing. She rises by remembering who she is. Sovereignty is not control over others. It is inhabiting oneself fully. When the feminine remembers her worth, she no longer needs permission to exist. Self-worth is not a belief. It is a felt sense. Neuroscience shows that secure attachment creates internal safety, which creates stable identity. When the nervous system settles, comparison fades, and approval loses power. The queen stands, not because she is praised, but because she is rooted. Rest as resistance. In a culture addicted to productivity, rest becomes radical. Rest is not laziness, it is recalibration. The feminine restores life through rhythm, sleep, cycles, seasons, and breath. Burnout is not failure, it is the body begging for rest. That is why rest is devotion to life. Embodiment practices to restore feminine energy. Slow movement, breath awareness, touch, time in nature, creative expression. The body is not a machine, it is a temple of sensation. The feminine future. A healed feminine does not dominate culture, it humanizes it. It brings compassion without collapse, sensitivity without fragility, beauty without apology. It teaches the world how to feel again without drowning. The future does not need harder systems, it needs deeper ones. The sacred feminine is not something to perform, it is something to inhabit. It lives where breath slows, where emotion is allowed, where life is honored as it is. When the feminine returns, the world remembers how to love. I hope this video could help you reconnect with your feminine energy and to awaken the queen inside you. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more scientific and psychological insights. See you next time on my way.